All right, y'all. So a guy by the name of Ted Cruz, a little weasel by the name of Ted Cruzington, decided to go on The View. Why? Probably because he's selling a book or some dumb shit. But apparently he's masochistic enough where he wants the abuse. Because obviously the women on The View don't agree with Ted Cruz. Now, by the way, that doesn't mean the women on The View are good. They're kind of standard corporate establishment Democrat defenders. You know, they're way more of like Hillary Clinton type people than Bernie Sanders type people. So, you know, I don't have love for these women on The View. But, of course, they're going to be significantly more rational than the most hardcore partisan hack man in America, Ted Cruzkis. So, let me show you some of this back and forth that we got going on here. Some of the questions are fucking brutal. Okay, let's watch.
So, we're back with Senator Ted Cruz. Yes, he came, he stayed. Anna, you have the question.
Oh, by the way, I should mention that there was a protest just before this. There were some people in the audience who protested Cruz. I don't know what it was. It may have been part of that like climate change protest. Not 100% sure. But anyway, this is after the protesters were escorted out or whatever, and now they're talking.
I've been very vocal and very critical of you, but I'm sorry that this has happened.
All good. All good.
In our house. You and I have been in politics a long time. I remember meeting you when you were first running in Miami. You were a Bush Republican back then, so was I. And we've seen candidates that have...
By the way, yikes! I want to go back to the days when Republicans were reasonable. You know, not like Trump, but more like George W. Bush, who started illegal wars and crashed the economy and cut taxes for the rich and deregulated. That was glorious.
Said a lot of things about each other. But Donald Trump went incredibly personal when it came to you. He suggested your father may have been involved in Kennedy's assassination, and he called your wife, Heidi, ugly.
Who, by the way, is very pretty.
This is what you said. Let me get through the question. This is what you said about him back in 2016 during the campaign. Let's take a look.
I'm going to tell you what I really think of Donald Trump. This man is a pathological liar. He doesn't know the difference between truth and lies. He lies practically every word that comes out of his mouth. The man is utterly amoral. Morality does not exist for him.
Yeah. So I have to ask you, because, you know, I'm married to a Cuban man. Mm-hmm. I frankly don't know how you get over your wife being called ugly. I don't know how you get over those kind of calumnies against your father. But you obviously have gotten over it. Today you sing a very different tune. So tell us, were you lying then or are you lying now?
Yeah.
Hot diggity damn skis. God damn. Wow. Now, some people say, they're ambushing him, bro. It's unfair. Is it? Is it? When you do a just total 180, I think it's a reasonable question for people to ask you. Like, what do you actually think? You know, my guess is he still harbors some resentment towards Donald Trump, but he cares more about his career and his political future, so he cucked himself. He realized, I can't beat this guy, so now this guy is my political daddy. And he went from one of the harshest critics of Trump from within the Republican Party to one of his biggest sycophants. Trump asked him, hey, would you argue with the Supreme Court that the election was rigged and that I actually won? And Ted Cruz said, I'd be honored to do that. That's how far down the rabbit hole of cuckery he brought himself.
Yeah, that's a loaded question there.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good question. It's a good one. I know you're used to being on the Daily Wire or whatever the fuck you're on, where everybody like tickles your little ball sack all day and says, oh, Senator, you're such an intellectual. But that's not the real world. That's you and your little shitty partisan bubble.
I think a lot of people have the same question. It's a very different Ted Cruz that we're seeing.
True.
We are. I mean, would you not agree that that's very different Ted Cruz than today's Ted Cruz?
What I would say is this. In 2016, we had a primary where Donald Trump and I beat the living crap out of each other. I'll tell you, Heidi laughed when he said that. My father...
No, she didn't.
...laughed, by the way.
No, he didn't.
Dad didn't just kill Kennedy. He's got Jimmy Hoffa buried in the backyard. It was idiotic. And we went after each other, and at the end of the day, he won. And I had a decision to make in November of 2016. He'd been elected president. I got a responsibility to represent 30 million Texans. I could have decided my feelings are hurt. I'm going to take the ball and go home and not do my job. But if I was prepared to do that, I better be prepared to resign from my job because I have a responsibility. So what I did...
Oh, that's the dumbest answer I've ever fucking heard in my life. Look, Ted Cruz is deeply conservative when it comes to policy. So yeah, he absolutely could have kept voting in that incredibly shitty way for tax cuts for the rich and for deregulation and destroying the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and putting right-wing, religious evangelical cranks on the court. And he could have voted that way the entire time, but not fucking regularly gave Trump a rim job on national TV, which of course now he does all the time. This is so disingenuous.
is I went and said, listen, we have an opportunity to make a difference for this country, and I want to roll up my sleeves and lead the fight to actually deliver on promises. We were talking a minute ago about the incredible booming economy. We saw 7 million people get off of food stamps.
Oh my God, this fucking fact is such a dumb fact. Yeah, they were off of food stamps because you kicked them off of food stamps. It's not like all 7 million people woke up the next day and had all the food they needed and wanted for the next year. No, they were just fucking struggling because you kicked them off. They say that as if like it's a good thing. No, you guys would kick off somebody who doesn't have a fucking pot to piss in or a piece of bread for their mouth. You would kick them off of food stamps, and you did. And you did. Imagine bragging about that shit, and I was going to do the whole like, oh, you know, African-American unemployment's really low, bro. Latino unemployment's really low, bro. I thought you guys don't do identity politics. You talk all the time about identity politics is stupid. We're all just Americans. Who cares about your skin color? Who cares about any of these immutable characteristics? Then the second they think it's convenient for them, it's like, bro, we're looking after for the African Americans and for the Latinos and whatnot.
We saw poverty dropping. We saw African American poverty dropping. We saw Hispanic poverty dropping. Those are real results that make a real difference, and I'm proud of that record. And why did I choose?
By the way, I love this argument. If Ted Cruz really cared about poverty dropping, right, he could support UBI. Oh, that would help poverty drop real well. He could support the extended child tax credit, which, by the way, when they did do that not too long ago, there's about a 50% drop in child poverty. But it was temporary, because it was a temporary provision. Is Ted Cruz out there crusading for the extended child tax credit? No. Is he crusading for UBI? No. You know what's going to help with poverty? If you take medical bills off of the plate for the American people and do universal health care, that would definitely help. That would definitely reduce poverty. You going to do that? No. What a joke. Is he for unions, which reduce poverty? No.
To work with him, even though I was pissed off at what he said, because I had a job to do and I had a responsibility.
I love how he's phrasing it as like, I was just doing my job, just doing my responsibility. That's all I'm doing. Taking the most obviously petty, thin-skinned, authoritarian man in the country and regularly giving him the old reach around. I got my Jergens lotion. I give him the old reach around, and this is all because I'm a serious senator, bro. That's why I do it.
And well, I would say your responsibility was to the Constitution and democracy, not to Donald Trump, but it seems to me...
Look, I agree, and let me be very clear. I think that the Democrats had been undermining the Constitution and undermining democracy, and that the book that is coming out tomorrow is on...
The Democrats are undermining the Constitution and undermining democracy. This is the dude who literally said he would argue at the Supreme Court that the election was rigged and Trump really won, even though he knows that's not true. He knows it. This guy is fucking, Ivy League educated? He doesn't know that the election is correct? Those 62 court cases, he didn't look at that and say, well, it seems pretty clear. He knows. He knows. Democrats are undermining democracy, bro. That's what they're doing. Now, the guy who I support going out on Truth Social every other day and saying, reinstate me as president, put me back in right now, put me in. That's not undermining democracy. That's not Carrie Lake in Arizona who's running for governor saying, I'll accept the result if I win. That's not undermining democracy. I believe it's the majority of candidates on the Republican side in this election doubting the results of the last election. That's not undermining democracy. Oh, give me a break. Let's jump ahead a little bit here. There's one other part I want to show you guys.
You and Donald Trump were the last candidates in the Republican nomination. I remember working with my bosses on Capitol Hill, members of the Freedom Caucus, begging them to endorse you because I thought you were the true conservative who could defeat that man.
Thank you.
He won. I ended up going on to work for him. I've made my peace with those decisions. But January 6th is something I have a really hard time moving beyond from. And I say that as a constitutional conservative, which is what you pride yourself in being. How can you be okay with the undemocratic action of trying to disenfranchise 80 million voters? And do you believe Biden legitimately won the election?
So what I'd say is a couple of things. Number one, in this book, I have an entire chapter on January 6th, that if you want to know the inside story of what happened, listen, I recognize a lot of the folks who may be here who watch this show are not politically on my side of the aisle. That's fine. I'm glad we're having conversations. I'm glad we're
Notice none of this is answering the question. None of it is.
Actually talking to each other. America, there's so much screaming and yelling and hatred that if this...
Yeah, and you support that. You like that. You're one of the people who engages in the screaming and the yelling and the hatred with your partisan drivel, your partisan hackery on a regular basis.
Country's going to make it through. We got to actually try to understand each other and hear what the other is saying. So I would encourage you, especially if you don't happen to agree with my view of politics, read the chapter on January 6th on the inside.
I read it as somebody. I read the chapter to someone who agreed with you most of your career. How do you reconcile your constitutional convictions with what happened on January 6th and trying to overturn the election when 60 court cases got knocked down?
And just finally,
was Biden legitimately elected? Because half the party thinks that he wasn't, and it'd be very powerful for you to tell the truth.
So listen, Biden is the president today. There's a lot of...
Didn't answer the question. Biden is the president today. Yeah. There's only like 7 QAnon weirdos who think Trump is secretly pulling the strings behind the scenes. And by the way, they also say at the same time that, fuck this student loan debt reduction, bro. But wait, didn't you say if Trump is secretly running the show, then Trump did the student loan debt reduction? So wouldn't you like? Okay, anyway.
Folks in the media that anytime, hold on, I'm answering exactly that question. There are a lot of folks in the media that try to, anytime a Republican is in front of a TV camera, try to say the election was fair and square and legitimate. You know who y'all don't do that to? You don't do it to Hillary Clinton, who stood up and said Trump stole the election.
Hillary Clinton conceded the next day. And by the way, the argument of he's kind of an illegitimate president, it is fair in this respect. Hillary won the popular vote by like 4 million. Yes, you're allowed to have the opinion, I think the person who gets the most votes should become president. That is a totally fair and legitimate opinion, and a correct opinion, in my opinion, to have. So when you say, it's kind of illegitimate, yeah, it is. In the same way it was illegitimate that George W. Bush became president in 2000, because Al Gore won by like 500,000 votes, the popular vote, but lost the Electoral College. So that's what they mean when they say, oh, illegitimate. But in terms of like how they reacted, Trump still denies the election to this day. Hillary Clinton conceded the next day.
They didn't try to kill my former
Abrams, who said that the election was stolen. They sat here and said it was illegitimate, and you guys were fine with it. Okay, so it's illegitimate.
Okay, yeah, but this idea that, all elections are exactly the same. No, there actually is in 2000, when they did the recount in Florida, every which way they did it, hanging Chad, dimple Chads, you name it, Al Gore won. Al Gore won. So it was called for Bush on the night of by Fox News from Florida. Jeb Bush was the governor of fucking Florida. They called it early for George W. Bush, and that wasn't true. Now, he became president, and he was president, but in terms of who actually won the election, it was Al Gore. So yeah, that election was stolen. That's a fact. The difference is, this election was not stolen. Biden won the popular vote by like 7 million votes. And not only that, he also won the Electoral College. And there were over 60 court cases that verified this. They did the audit in Arizona and found that not only did Biden win, he won by more than they thought he won by on election day. So yeah, this election is different, and it wasn't fucking stolen.
When Republicans win, but not when Democrats win.
No, here's the thing. We may not like when Republicans win, but we don't go and we don't storm. We don't try to change, but we'll go here.
Did I miss an entire year of Antifa riots where cities across this country were burning?
Okay, first of all, that had nothing to do with the election. She just said, hey, we don't try to overthrow the fucking federal government when our people lose. Even, by the way, if the election's stolen from us, a lot of people criticize Al Gore for that. Cucked himself. All the Democrats cucked themselves. Knowing that when they did the recount in Florida that Al Gore won, so the decision's already in, what are we going to do? But he brings up, Antifa, bro. Antifa's really bad, bro. You know what I'm saying, bro? Antifa, bro.
It is.
Police cars are being firebombed. Your position is the left doesn't engage in violence, really?
No, they wanted to...
Okay. I don't think you can name a single national Democrat who was like, me? I support rioting, bro. I'm on the side of the rioters. Burn down another CVS, dog. Why not a small business or two? Let's get it. Nobody said that. Nobody believed that. But on the right, again, a majority of the candidates running support denying the election. A majority of them. This false equivalence is such garbage.
I'm
our
saying
friend Mike Pence. Like, how do we make
you
sense
just
of that?
accused us of doing something we didn't do. You said Hillary Clinton didn't say whatever she didn't say. I'm saying to you, listen.
And she said it's sitting here, and you were fine with her saying it was illegitimate for Republicans to win.
She called Donald Trump the next morning, and she conceded the election, Ted.
Okay,
took the call.
As did Stacey Abrams.
Here's my list of bad Democrats who do and say bad things. Here, let me read it. I'll read it to you. See, Democrats are bad, bro. See, they're so bad, bro.
All right.
She sat there while Donald Trump was getting sworn in.
Hillary Clinton says Trump is an illegitimate president. Hillary Clinton says the election is stolen from you. Hillary Clinton in 2002, George W. Bush was selected, not elected.
True. That's all true. That's all true. And again, she conceded the next day. Donald Trump did not. To this day, he still fucking denies it. See, there's stuff going on both sides, bro. You know what I'm saying? There's stuff going on both sides.
Joe Biden. Al Gore was elected president. So Joe Biden claims
You just said
George
we don't
W. Bush
scream
was
at each other, right? Or is it just you that gets to scream?
Okay, no, I agree.
Okay, then lower your voice because we are very close to each other. And I know you come here to sell a book and try to pick a fight, but we're not going to do that today.
But Anna, then address the... Okay, you look at this January 6th committee, which I think is a kangaroo
1 minute,
circus.
and then I got to go.
The chairman of the January 6th committee objected to a prior presidential election. Representative Raskin, the lead prosecutor for the impeachment, objected to a prior presidential election.
Based. I mean, they're talking about the Bush one, which they should have. I mean, what the fuck do you want them to say, right? That one actually was stolen. 2020 was not stolen. Sorry. I know facts sometimes are fucking stubborn and they're obnoxious. And sometimes, hate to say this, hope you're sitting down, sometimes they have a liberal bias. Sorry, Ted. I think he gets cut off here in a minute anyway.
And the absolute hypocrisy.
Democrats say this president, we don't like him, but we're not going to do our job.
Yes,
they did their job.
As the book described, the Department of Justice went after Trump.
Thanks for a second.
Yeah, he says the Department of Justice went after Trump. Good! They should go after him more. They should go after him harder. Homeboy commits 17 crimes before breakfast. Did you watch Letitia James in New York when she was giving her breakdown of Trump's crimes? She's doing a $250 million fine against Trump and his kids and the business because he did insurance fraud and tax fraud and bank fraud. It's totally fucking fraudulent business. What's your argument, Ted? I like Trump, so no accountability, no responsibility, no justice, because I like him now, so he's allowed to commit crimes. You're technically allowed to do crimes, right, bro? I mean, that's what I think, bro. Ted, what? And that's just New York. In Georgia, they're investigating him. Homeboy's on a phone call saying, find me 11,000 votes, because I want to win. I want to steal the election. I want to steal it. He's like, I don't see any problem here. What's the problem? I don't know why. I got to give Ted Cruz I don't even see a problem here. You're allowed to say, find me 11,000 votes. Me, I'm Ted Cruz. Me. Come on, man. Come on. And that's only 2 of the investigations. We haven't even talked about the classified and top secret material, which was so top secret it needed to be kept in the skiff room, and it was under lock and key even in the room that was already locked and keyed. So, yeah, he commits crimes. That's why they're investigating him. Of course. Absolutely. Duh. They investigated fucking Hillary Clinton, and they should have charged her ass. So, yeah, go after criminals. Anyway, all right. And then in the next breath, Democrats are weak on crime. We're tough on crime. Anyway, Trump should be allowed to get away with whatever crime he wants to commit. I'm Ted Cruz. Me. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.